Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. So I'm Bruno Masick. I'm with GBN-Smith, and today the topic is going to be around migration and basically how to make a successful migration with all the recommendations we have. We've put in place a migration path with 10 different steps on basically with the focus on how you can save time and how you can save money do your migration. So all these 10 different steps are steps that we've been actually working on for the past 5 years, and we found out that they were very easy to implement for all business object deployments. So the solutions we have at GBN-Smith that will be used for 10 steps are a set of 6 products. One is called 360 View, which is around bulk updates. The second product is around 360 Plus, which is around backup and promotion. The third one is called 360 Cast, which is around bursting, dynamic bursting. The fourth one is called 360 Bind, which is around calculation engine change testing. The fifth one is called 360 Universe, which is basically around bulk updating object descriptions and universes. And the last one is 360 Eyes, which is around BI on BI. Today we've got a special guest, Darius Zikowski. He's the BI manager of City of Chicago. And so before we go in the 10 different steps, we asked Darius to join because he did a very challenging migration, I think in the past year at City of Chicago, where he went from 3.1 to 4.2. I'll pass it over to Darius if you can explain around the landscape before going to 4.2 at the City of Chicago and what the challenges were.
Thanks, Bruno. Hello, everyone. Again, this is Darius Zikowski. I am with the City of Chicago. So our 3.1 environment was pretty big. We had over 103,000 reports, close to 200 universes, about 1,700 users. So Business Objects is a primary reporting tool for the city. Basically, it runs all the reporting capabilities. So all most important documents are actually Business Objects documents. And unfortunately, these are DESKI reports, since we have purchased VO in 2000. So before we purchased GBN-Smith solutions, we didn't really know what we had. So previous migrations, for example, from R2, XIR2 to 3.1 were very challenging. So before migrating to version 4.2, we decided to make, to change things. So 360 tools allowed us to create and actually do a great audit and to find out what exactly we have to make intelligent decisions, what to migrate and what to not to migrate. So that's exactly what we did. And primary challenge for us was DESKI. We had over 18,000 DESKI reports, and as whoever went through the migration knows, that RCT tool by SAP is not enough. Conversion to EBI is not 100%, and very often it's kind of problematic, and things need to be fixed or actually redeveloped. So after we migrated to 4.2, we basically were able to archive and delete 1/3 of our environment, thanks to 360 tools. So at this slide, you can see that what we had before we started using 360 and after. So again, intelligent decisions, meaning deleting a report in Business Objects, it's a pretty big deal. So we're able to clean things up, which significantly helped us to speed things up as far as migration and users' acceptance. So we also were able to not only delete reports, but anything else in BO, like universes, connections, and also users, people who actually were not using Business Objects. And also, once we migrated to 4.2, we used, and we're actually using 360 solutions to maintain a better environment, scheduled and automated purge jobs and other solutions that keep our environment healthy and clean and lean, and actually fast. So our 4.2 environment is pretty fast, much faster than 3.1, thanks to all these activities. So we are one pretty happy customer as far as solutions, and without them, we would have to, we don't have as a municipality budget as far as the migration, and as far as business intelligence team, here it is. That's the one on the team, so we didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars for consultants, so we had to do it on our own. With those tools, we're able to pretty much achieve that. We did need some consulting help with the with some finished products as far as desk migration, but everything else, like the software installation and then preparation and everything else, was done internally. So we have 360 has we're only using 3 modules from GBN Smith: 360 View, 360 Plus, and Bind. But they have also other solutions that we're planning to use in the future. So for example, disaster and recovery solution that is really well designed, and whoever is looking for a really for peace of mind as a BO admin, if you do it correctly and properly, with one click you can recover and restore your entire environment. And I'm sure Pauline and Nathan can give you details. Also, huge help in our key conversion was the 360 Bind, which is automated regression testing, which basically this tool compares original report to the output, which with thousands of converted web view reports is a huge deal. So whoever went through desk migrations know what I'm talking about. So that's basically it in a nutshell. So if you have any questions for me after the presentation, I'll stick around.
Thank you very much, Darius. And the reason we also wanted you to join today is, I think in the past year and a half at GBN Smith's 360 Suite, I think you've done the most impressive migration you've seen, because basically you've pretty much done the migration on your own. And this has been really impressive considering the size of your landscape. And with 360 Suite, did you have any issues? What were the cons? So you've discussed a lot about, what were the good sides of things, what were the downsides of things that you could have had? What could we improve?
Well, in 360, the number one thing that I liked is like non-invasive solution, meaning you install the add-on and you don't even know it's there. I mean, as an admin, I know very well how my servers are performing, and with this add-on, there was no visible or measurable indication or impact on my VO servers. So first of all, so it's very light. And also, you provided with a real view, not, of course you have a backup as well, but you have a real view at your environment. And right out the box, you get 50 plus reports, so very useful and carefully designed out-of-the-box reports that you could use immediately to see what your environment looks like. So these are like number one pluses for me. The one thing I didn't like, I still don't like it, is that you guys have so many capabilities in those tools, like jam-packed everywhere. A better explanation how to use them, how to basically maybe get them out of the open and maybe categorize them differently. You would have to basically read the manual carefully to use them correctly. So a little improvement in the area, yeah, that would be nice. And
Darius, last question for you is, how much time do you estimate you've saved 60?
Well, roughly, and it's pretty hard to measure, but if we consultants do this, say easily 8 to 12 months, easily.
Okay, that's quite impressive. Then right now, thank you very much, Darius. To all the people attending this webinar, we'll be having actually a session at BI Analytics in Nashville from August 7th to 9. And then there, the Vanderbilt University Medical Center will talk about their migration from 4.1 to 4.2. So quite impressive migration because they've got over 10,000 users and lots of so basically the admin will be talking around the migration that they're having. We have another customer story. I'll pass it over to Nathan to talk about that one before he passes over to Pauline and to go through the demo.
Yes, indeed. So this is a large aerospace manufacturer here in Georgia. They were trying to harness the power of HANA to put their business objects landscape on HANA and move away from their Oracle back end, and we're having a huge amount of manual effort of trying to pull out the data from business objects on their back end. So their audit data as well as the CMS data, and really manually putting it all together and having weekly meetings where the entire team was getting together, and at the end of the day they still weren't trusting the data because of all the process that went into gathering it. And so they've invested in 368, and in particular, this particular case, we're talking about 360eyes, the BI on BI platform, and they have now set up a self-service reporting mechanism so that every analyst, whether they're a business objects analyst or a HANA analyst, are able to leverage the types of reportings for impact analysis and data lineage within both HANA views as well as their Oracle database where their current environment is for the move. So they're able to understand where the data is coming from, which reports are being affected, and how to manage that process most effectively, and have gone through and their first year impact is going to be over 150K savings just in manpower hours. So a huge benefit to their team, and just the beginning because they've picked up more of the suite. So they're going to start with the testing and everything else once they've actually got a new environment stood up. So they're very happy with their business objects suite environment and are going to be talking about it throughout the year. And as a matter of fact, we did a presentation with them earlier month that is available online. So we'll put that link up just as soon as the presentation is done. So that brings us to the how are they doing it? How are all these customers looking at their environment? How are they moving from an older version of business objects to a newer version of business objects in an easy and a time-saving and a money-saving way? So we prepared these 10 steps, and I'm going to work with Pauline here to walk through each step and give you a sense of what those reports look like, what the tools look like. And one of the things I did want to mention also, Bruno brought up BI and analytics coming up. We'll have a hands-on session. So if you're going to be in Nashville for that, make sure that you put that onto your agenda where you can actually test out these tools in different scenarios. So the first part is prepare.
Hi, everyone. This is Pauline from GB & Smith. So right now we're not going to go through each of the steps, but I'll highlight a number of them, the more important steps, and a lot of the ones that Darius had gone through with the City of Chicago. So, so over time, just like with what Darius experienced, your business objects environment grows. You know, no one ever has experienced your environment getting smaller. It always gets larger. And so we have typically before migration, you want to reduce the size. That will make your migration run a lot faster. You're not converting, obsolete, unused content. You'll be saving space. You'll run into a lot less regressions issues with the migration. So the goal is really to identify items that, any content that hasn't been used, users that haven't logged into the system, reports that haven't been run, inbox documents, that kind of thing. So we have a tool called 360 Eyes that will allow you to pinpoint, identify those items that haven't been used, an idea of what actually, what kind of content you have in your environment. So 360 Eyes is a metadata tool that extracts all the metadata from your business objects environment and populates the database. A few of the reports just to give you an idea of the kind of information you can get. This first report, the document instance volume report, is typically really interesting when a lot of customers go into their CMC and they look on, if you go to the object list in the bottom right corner, it'll tell you how many objects you have in your environment. It'll give you a count, it might say 20,000, it might say 50,000. You have no idea really what that is, whether they're user documents, whether they're in public folders, instances, you just don't have any idea. And this report will break it down for you. It'll give you information about the counts in inboxes, in public folders, in user folders. It'll tell you also what the instances are. So this gives you an idea of, okay, you've got too many instances, or there are users that, keeping too many reports in their environment. So you kind of get a picture of what you have, what content you have. And then going forward, you want to identify reports that can be eliminated. So reports that haven't been run in a certain amount of time. And currently with Auditor, you get information about reports that are run, but you'll never get information about reports that aren't run. And so looking at user activity, we can, with 360 Eyes, we can determine document usage. So if I run this document usage report, I'll get a list of all the reports in my environment. So this is every report, and I get information about whether it's had any action. So this is if Auditor's been turned on for 3 years, or for however long you've had Auditor turned on, it'll tell you, okay, these have no action. So there's been no refresh, no view, no save, nothing happened with these reports. If I scroll through, I can find where I'm getting some reports that actually have action. So these reports have been run. I can use this information to then clean up my environment. So here, maybe out of 1,000 reports, I can identify that 100 of them can be removed. Maybe you've got 50,000 reports. In the city of Chicago's case, they had quite a significant number of reports. I think it was 30% that actually they determined that could be removed. So that report is very important to look at. Also looking at universes. So if I run universe report, this will show me all the universes in my environment and whether they are being used in reports. Okay, so hopefully you can see this report. So this is a bar for each universe in my environment. I won't adjust the screen anymore. So this is each bar represents a different universe in my environment. The darker shaded area means there are objects. These are counts of different objects. So this particular universe has 41 objects, the first one, and none of them are used. The entire bar is dark. So none of these objects are used in any report in my environment. Where you see the light shaded area, so this particular universe that I'm hovering over, there are 31 objects in this universe that are used and 6 that aren't used. So this just gives you an overview of your universes and what's being used and not being used. We also have another report that will actually show you the specific objects. So this is just an overview. If I come to look at this universe report, I can actually get a list of the unused objects within the universe. So here I get a list of all my objects in my universes. And then this object count will tell me whether the object is used in any report in my environment. So whether it's any Webby report within your environment. So scrolling through, I can see, okay, these first 2 objects aren't used, and then the snapshot CMS in 75 different reports. This is helpful if you're thinking of eliminating some objects. If it's being used, you might not want to eliminate it. So that report is definitely helpful as well to identify things that that might be candidates for being removed. Another report that a lot of customers find useful, we have a report that will show duplicated reports. So over time, different users of business objects will copy their reports from public folders into their personal folders and just run them from there. So you end up getting copies of the same reports all over your environment. You know, if you have this particular report, there's 3 copies. I mean, you might find that you have, scrolling through, I think I have some that might have 10 copies. So, but you know, you might find over time. So if that's 100 reports that 100 reports that are duplicated, and you know they're duplicated 10 times each, you've got a lot of duplicates in your environment. This will let you identify things that can be removed, so that you're not migrating duplicates and fixing those duplicated reports as well. So all of this is the main goal is getting this information and then doing the cleanup. So we have a tool once you've identified the reports that you want to remove. It could be users, it could be inboxes, it could be instances. Our tool that we use to clean this up is called 360 View. So I will switch over to 360 View and show you how we can do cleanup with this tool.
Speaking of which, Pauline, how are we pulling all that data together? Or where all is the data coming from?
So 360 Eyes is, when it's installed, the customer provides a database, and there are programs that are run that extract the data from Auditor, from the file store, from the CMS, and populate that database that then you can report off of to get that information. So it populates all that metadata. Okay. The 360 Suite, this is the tool that allows you to do some bulk cleanup. So there are similar features to the CMC, but we also have the ability to do the bulk updates. Users to groups within the CMC, but you also have the ability to do a lot of the bulk updates. I know the City of Chicago uses this to do the bulk delete. So once you've identified with the 360 Eyes the reports that you want to delete, you can then remove those. So we do recommend that you do a backup before removing any reports. So we do have a solution called 360 Plus that will allow you to do backups, schedule backups. It allows you to back up all the content in your environment. So your groups, your folders, your universes, your connections, so everything is backed up. It does incremental backups. So the first time it runs, it backs up everything, and then the subsequent runs will only back up things that have been modified or added since the last backup. This is a much more flexible backup strategy because you can either restore everything. So if you have a DR situation, locate a server, you can use that backup, or you can just restore one folder or one report. Something's corrupted or accidentally deleted, or whatever the reason that you need to restore it. So we do recommend.
So you're saying they get a version of each object in their landscape?
Yes, that's correct. With the backup.
Right. How many versions do they get to keep?
You can select as many as you want. So default 5, but if you want up to 10, you can increase that. Okay, and then the cleanup is so this is using 360 View. I have selected schedule jobs, and we have a number of different jobs that will allow you to do that cleanup. So boxes. So this is a huge thing. You can't do this currently without writing code within the SDK. So you can, if you found, running your reports in 360 Eyes that, yeah, we do have a lot of inbox documents, and it's, kind of getting out of control because users aren't going to go in and clean up their inboxes. Set this up to either purge any inboxes older than a certain number of days. This can be regularly scheduled if you want, or this can be a one-time thing. A lot of things we're talking about are great for migrations, time to do it, to do the cleanup, but also ongoing your environment to continue to get out of control. So this is important to keep that up. So here I can clear out my inboxes, eliminate a lot of space that's being used, so deleting documents. So we generated that list of reports that were unused, and I'm going to then provide that Excel. So I generate that list, export it to Excel, and then I just upload the Excel file here, and then I can delete that I want to delete. And again, I've backed it up before I do this so that I always can roll. So that is for cleanup. Also, when you're doing an upgrade, oftentimes you want to take advantage of the new features of the new number of features that will allow you to do that. If any of you are moving from UNV to UNX and you want to be able to bulk update your Webby reports to point to the new UNX universe, we have to repoint Webby reports. You just provide the old universe ID, the new universe ID, the folder path, and do it'll bulk update your universe. You can take advantage of the information design tool that are available. A lot of customers will also move their reports, so they might move to another CMS if they're doing not an in-place update, and you'll have to change all your connections, that kind of thing. We have a way to actually bulk update your Crystal connections. So this is all of the cleanup, after an upgrade. So this option, Update Crystal Connections, will allow you to select a folder where you have Crystal reports. It'll export your instances and any non-recurring instances, and it'll export it to Excel, and then you get a list of all your reports, get a list of all of your reports with their connections, and you can make any updates to those. So here I've got reports and then also some instances. So this first column, the type, shows that I have reports and then recurring instances and then just one-time instances. So I can come in here, change the database, change the user, the password, and save this, import it, and it does those bulk updates. So there's a number of different things that you can do to do the cleanup prior to doing your migration. Probably the most important thing with the migration is the qualify step is to make sure that you don't have any regression. So moving from a major upgrade or even just a minor upgrade with a service pack update, there can be calculation engine changes, differences with the report. So you definitely want to be able to compare before and after. So we have a tool called 360 Bind. It is an automated regression testing tool, and it will allow you to compare your reports from one environment to another. So whether it's a different environment, different versions, does that side-by-side comparison. There are 3 steps to this comparison. The first one is scheduling your report in your first environment. So imagine you are in 4.1 and you're going to 4.2. So here I would create a task that schedules a number of reports. I can select however many reports you want, 50, 100, however many you want. I'll just show you how you just select any reports that you want to include in your testing. You would add those. Select a category. So this is a category that you define, just a way of grouping your reports category. Set the prompts for your reports. So you're essentially just scheduling these reports. This in 4.1, I can provide all the prompts for my reports and set all the prompts. I would do this in 4.1, and then I would do the same thing in 4.2. And so I have my results. I've got a result set of my 4.1 reports, a result set of my 4.2 reports, and then I do the comparison. So from here, I go to the Bind tab, and run that comparison to see if I have any regressions with my reports. You would select the category that you identified. The file type is XML. I'm comparing Webby reports, so that's the best way to compare those reports. Reports binding, so I have a way of mapping the reports. So in my example, they match by CUID. It could be by name, or you can do a custom mapping. Then you've got all these options for what you want to compare. You can compare data, numeric values, structure, if that's important, styles, if formatting is important between the two versions. Compare images. So if you have graphs on your reports, you want to make sure that those still are appearing the same. The similitude binding will actually allow you to do a Desky to Webby comparison. So if you still have Deskies and you're converting them to Webby, it can be done as well. And then you can compare execution times. This is actually very helpful we have a number of customers that will use this tool. The aerospace customer that Nathan mentioned is using this tool because they're migrating to a different database platform, and they do want to make sure that they're getting similar response times with their reports on their new database platform. So they're using this to highlight anything that might be at a certain threshold. I'll select that for this. It's a comparison, so it'll go out and compare my reports in 4.1 and 4.2, and then show me and so I've got all, none of them are matching. So by clicking on any of these reports, let me find one that my sorry. Okay. So here, this is what I was expecting to see. So I have, it was already a scheduled run, and I can always refer back to it if I need. So I have 10 matching documents and then 3 that aren't matching. If I select the first one, here's the analytical view. I can switch to the report view. Here, I'll expand it. So left-hand side is my report in 4.1, and the right-hand side is my report in 4.2, and I can scroll through, and I'll find anywhere there are differences. They'll be highlighted in red, so I immediately see where there are differences, and then I can reference back to, look back in the universe. Maybe it's a universe object issue. Maybe there's a variable used in the report, and that's having syntax calculation engine change. So this gives me the information that I need to identify any issues. You can also export this information to Excel, and it'll just show you the differences. So if you have reports with a large number of pages, that's a faster way to review. If I switch to the next report, again, I've got my comparison. I can scroll through. I can scroll vertically and horizontally and see the differences. If you've got reports with multiple tabs, you can also toggle through there. So here on the top, I've got a second tab. I can switch to that view as well. The last one is an example with the graphs. So this report shows my graph on the left is 4.1. On the right, you see where it's highlighted. The boxes in red shows where there are differences in the graphs. So this is definitely a huge time saver if you're doing an upgrade or even just any kind of changes in your environment, anything that could potentially affect the results of your reports. It's important to do this regression testing. You can automate it. It's all scheduled. You can just have the results scheduled to you. You get information about what the differences are, and then you can go back and look and see if there are any other areas where you might have issues. So most of our customers will use Bind with 360i, so the metadata tool, because you can do impact analysis on that. So once you've identified issues, that's great. Okay, you picked the reports you've tested the reports that have found issues, but a lot of times you're going to find issues across your environment, and it's important to find, what other reports might have the same issues. So I'm moving back to 360 Eyes, which I can access through my Launchpad, and we have some impact analysis reports. So these are standard out-of-the-box reports. So if I've identified with Bind that there's an issue with a universe object, and I want to know what other reports are using that object, I can run this impact analysis report. If I refresh this, it will ask me to select a snapshot. So this is just capturing my environment at a point in time. I'll select a Webby and a Crystal snapshot. Select a universe. No, sorry, that was the wrong report. I'll select just an object. There's a universe object that I know has an issue. So this particular year object, it's in, tells me which class it's in, and then also which universe it's in. I'll select that one, and I can choose a snapshot. So I can select a Webby snapshot and Crystal, because it could, my reports, Crystal also uses universe objects, so I want to capture those as well. I run this report, and here I get a list of all the reports that contain that object. So I immediately know, what the issues are. Might also be interesting to know whether they're used or not, so you're not, fixing reports that aren't being used in your environment. So this impact analysis is definitely helpful. You can do the same thing if you've got variables. If with Bind you've identified that there are issues with a variable, you can identify any other reports that contain those variables. You can do impact analysis on SQL. So again, if there's an issue with syntax that's used within the SQL, you can drill down and report on that and get that information about what reports contain that particular SQL.
Can you look into BW as well?
Yes, you can. You can do impact analysis on BW and HANA views as well.
And I had actually one other question. With regard to Bind, would you only use this during a migration effort, or are there other events where you would use testing like this?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Not just migrations. I mean, that's typically when customers will buy it, but it is definitely useful anytime you make a change to your environment. I was an admin for many years, and we used to try to fix one thing, making a change to a join in a universe just to resolve one issue, and it had a trickle-down effect and impacted other reports that we were not intended to change. So, you make a change to your universe. You should do regression testing if you're updating your database versions. That also has an impact, or database platforms. A lot of customers will use Bind for that. So just ongoing, ongoing maintenance. Schedule this and have it run just as another step in your process before migrating anything to production, so that you are aware of any. Sorry.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. I think we've covered the major areas that are kind of the most critical for the migration steps that we recommend. Definitely the qualify steps. So, doing your testing, the impact analysis, and then the cleanup as well are the steps that we definitely prioritize, or we think are most important part of the migration.
And then rinse, repeat, and keep it going so that you maintain control going forward. That's kind of the idea. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for joining today's call. I really appreciate it. So great to see all you guys again. And, of course, looking forward to seeing you guys all again. Thank you so much to my great presenters. Hopefully we'll have you present again soon. Thank you.